This episode of Around the Layout is brought to you by Rapido Trains.
Buying Rapido Trains will make you happy.
Haven't you heard? Rapido Trains has announced a U-boat load of General Electric U-Series locomotives, U-25Bs, U-30CGs, U-33Cs and U-36Cs, and the U-34CH. You can check out all of these new releases and much more on their website, rapidotrains.com. Did the snow keep you from getting to the Railroad Hobby Show? No worries. Spring Creek Model Trains has you covered. Right now, ATLP listeners can take 5% off in-stock, regularly priced Rapido Trains products on their website through May 31st. Use code ATLPSPRING26 at checkout at springcreekmodeltrains.com. Serious about your model trains? Protect and organize your prize collection with modeltrainbox.com. Premium CNC cut foam storage boxes and transport cases for both HO and N scales, designed by modelers for modelers, with free U.S. shipping on every order. Durable, stackable, and built to last. Visit modeltrainbox.com and give your fleet the home it deserves. ATLP Extra is our monthly newsletter delivered right to your inbox each month. Sign up for free at atlpextra.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. It's time to find out what's happening in model railroading, and let's get started by finding out what's trending in the hobby with Joe Martins.
This is Joe Martins from the Dojo Trains YouTube channel, and here's what's trending in model railroading. Skill Trains has announced their next museum quality model in HO scale, the General Electric Union Pacific U50C. This model will have road number specific prototype details with frog clank and curve squeal sound effects, plus a host of lighting features. The models will also be the first from Skill Trains to have a passive speaker system in a housing designed by ESU. These models are available in 7 road numbers and 5 different paint schemes to cover all versions of the U50C throughout their short service careers. Looking for something a bit more modern? Skill Trains has also announced a pair of Wabtec rebuilt locomotives in their HO scale rivet counter line, the CSX CM44AC and the Union Pacific C44ACM. Rebuilt from AC4400 CWs, these models are available in 2 paint schemes per railroad with railroad-specific rebuild features, and feature the characteristic raised radiator grills and shutter system. Both the U50C and the Wabtec rebuilds from Skill Trains are due to deliver in fall 2026 with a February 23rd pre-order deadline. Following the success of their HO scale model in 2024, Aurora Miniatures has announced an N-scale National Steel Car 66-foot low-side gondola. This model will come in 5 paint schemes that have yet to be confirmed, but will feature full underbody details with variations according to the prototype, normal or low extending brake rods, and 100-ton roller bearing trucks with 36-inch metal wheel sets. Estimated delivery is Q4 of 2026, but no orders are accepted until delivery. If one gondola isn't enough, Aurora Miniatures has also announced the Greenbrier 52-foot low-side gondola in N-scale. Also available with accurate underbody detail, with separately applied handbrake wheel, air hoses, and coupler cut levers, these models will be offered in 15 paint schemes and should also arrive in Q4 of 2026. Be sure to order both when they arrive to make yourself a modern gondola fleet. In the market for a new switcher, Bowser has announced HO scale EMD SW1s in Phase 1 and Phase 3 now available for pre-order. The models will be offered in 13 road names, such as Great Northern, Burlington Northern, Conrail, and the Portland Traction Company, as well as 3 industrial colors for freelance modelers. Models will include road name-specific details such as fuel tank and headlight configurations, and separately applied air hoses, grab irons, and coupler cut levers. Pre-orders are due by March 19th from your favorite hobby shop, dealer, or from Bowser directly. Phase 2 SW1s are also in design and will be announced at a later date. Need more 6-axle power? Athearn has announced a new run of HO scale GE-9s in a variety of road names in their Genesis line. Included in their factory-weathered Prime for Grime line are BNSF X Santa Fe war bonnets that feature a variety of road number-specific faded paint jobs and replaced components, such as the air conditioners. If factory fresh is more your style, Athearn also has new Santa Fe war bonnet units in the lineup, as well as other road names such as Southern Pacific, which also has a patched Union Pacific model available. BC Rail 9s with the 4-window Canadian-style cabs will be offered for the first time from Athearn with the yellow frame stripe to reflect their appearance in the mid-2000s. Most road names have 3 road number options for you to choose from. Pre-orders are due by February 27th with an estimated delivery in June of 2027. Looking for more grain hoppers? If so, Intermountain Railway has you covered with a new run of Trinity 5161 3-bay covered hoppers in both HO and N scale. Details on the models include etched metal walkways with varying numbers of standoffs per the prototype, KD couplers on the HO scale models, and Intermountain's fantastic metal wheel sets for both scales. Road names differ between the scales, but each is available with 6 road numbers to help build your fleet. Pre-orders are due by March 31st from your dealer, hobby shop, or Intermountain directly. Rapido Trains has announced a slew of HO scale General Electric Universal Series models, better known as the U-boats. First, the Santa Fe specific U30CG is offered in both war bonnet paint schemes, the red and silver for passenger service, and blue and yellow for freight service, as well as a pair in the yellow bookend scheme. Rapido is offering 2 U30CGs with a special UV printing process to create an ultra-weathered look of a fading yellow war bonnet that reveals the original red war bonnet peeking through. The next U-boats announced from Rapido are the U33C and U36C. Both versions will include accurate road name specific details such as gyrolights, battery box door arrangements, fuel tanks, and locomotive phase variations. The U33C is available in 8 road names, including multiple options for Southern Pacific and Burlington Northern, and the U36C is available in 3 road names, Santa Fe, Clinchfield, and NDM. The final HO scale U-boat coming from Rapido is the U34CH, created for commuter service by the Erie, Lackawanna, and the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Featuring a head-end power alternator, red nose marker light, and lit control stand lights, these models are available in 3 NJ Transit paint schemes, as well as a special Conrail Bicentennial version. All of the Rapido U-boats will also include their Mo power capacitor system for uninterrupted lighting and sounds. Pre-orders are now open for all of these much-requested models. Broadway Limited Imports have announced their next HO-scale theater car, the Conrail No. 9 and CSX W. Thomas Rice. Including era-specific interior seating and exterior details, plus BLI's touch-controlled lighting system, these models are a must for any Conrail or CSX modeler. The Conrail No. 9 tooling will be used for the original green and yellow appearance of the car through 1999, as well as for CSX under the Massachusetts and Alabama names up until 2010. The car was then rebuilt under CSX, and BLI is also offering the car under the Alabama name as it appeared through 2021, which is when it was renamed the W. Thomas Rice, which continues to the present day. Both versions of the tooling will be offered unlettered in primer gray paint for an easy base for a custom paint job of your choosing. The pre-order deadline is August 6th, 2026, with an estimated arrival date of spring 2027. These will likely sell quick, just like BLI's other recent Union Pacific theater cars, so make sure to order yours ahead of time to secure your model. And for the O-scale modelers, Lionel has you covered too. Among many other new announcements in their 2026 catalog, many models celebrating America's 250th birthday are also included. American Freedom Train Lionel Legacy T1s take the spotlight, with a full range of matching exhibit cars, coaches, and support cars offered in either 2 or 4 packs. The locomotives have the usual range of Legacy steam features, plus whistle steam and Bluetooth control, and the passenger cars feature flicker-free lighting and generator sounds in select models. Lionel will also be offering a boxcar celebrating America's 250th in O-gauge, O-scale, HO-scale, and S-gauge. This boxcar will feature opening doors and exclusive artwork to help you celebrate the occasion. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to the Rapido Trains YouTube channel for a weekly recap video covering HO-scale new product announcements and updates from a variety of manufacturers. Other videos include HO-scale new product reviews and helpful tips, with much more on the way. Once again, please visit DAJOE Trains on YouTube.com. Thanks for tuning in. This is Joe Martins from the Rapido Trains YouTube channel, and that's what's trending in model railroading.
Thank you, Joe, for that report. And now it's time for our deep dive. This is where we go beyond the press release with a newsmaker in the hobby. And joining me this month is Jordan Smith from Rapido Trains. Jordan, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Ray. It's been, a couple weeks now since Springfield. So
it's amazing it's been a couple weeks, because it just, as time just continues to fly by. But yeah, it was a few weeks ago. And the one thing that hasn't changed, we still have all the snow piled up down here. It hasn't gone anywhere. We've
had more, and apparently I don't know about you, but we're supposed to get some more next week. So I'm not looking forward to that. I think we're going to be shoveling out of this until probably April.
Well, I have absolutely no say in it, but you can keep it north of the border if possible. I think we're done. I think you get that decorative snow for a little bit, and it's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. But then when you have it in the middle of a train show, it's never convenient. But it did allow us some quiet time on Sunday to get together, and we
exactly
and talked about some of the releases, and If folks have missed that, they can go back and find that at aroundthelayout.com/213 when we did our Amherst recap. And we talked about some of these new releases, but today you're back and we want to talk more about these new releases and take a deeper dive into some of the really cool stuff that's happening at Rapido Trains.
Exactly. And there's no shortage. We've been very busy, to say the least.
Yeah, that's for sure. And that makes me wonder. I mean, you talked about the Railroad Hobby Show and all that stuff that we did there, and then you had to get home to get all these projects done. How was the trip back home?
It was actually not bad. So we decided we were actually supposed to stick around an extra day till Tuesday or Wednesday, and we decided just to hit the road, and we made it all the way back on Monday. It was a long drive. It was almost 10 hours, 12 hours, but we made it successfully. So
did it get better as you got out of New England? Like, did you start to see an improvement as you headed out I-90?
Yeah, it definitely got better. Once we got back across the border in Ontario, it was a bit rough again. But you know what? It's January. You kind of expect it, so just to some point anyway. So
yeah, and it happens once every 4 to 5 years down here at the Railroad Hobby Show. So hey, that's not too bad. And next year, I think we're going to order up 55-degree weather. We'll all be in t-shirts walking around. So
much appreciated. So
yeah, we'll see what we do about that. We'll file our request with John Sacerdoti, and I'm sure he'll be able to deliver for us. So
exactly, our pre-order in.
That's right. Put your pre-orders in for weather for next year's Railroad Hobby Show. Excellent. So let's dive in. Let's go back to some of the stuff that we talked about. Obviously, the big announcement that you had there, and we've been talking about at the beginning of the podcast, is all these General Electric Universal Series locomotives that you've released. And this is some pretty exciting times for you folks. And want to know, I mean, what was the driving force to offer such a wide coverage of these U-boats?
Well, I mean, that's really the thing. We started off with the C30-7, which we released, a year, 2 years ago now. That naturally became the C36-7. And then where do you go from there? We've got more Dash 7s, obviously, we need to do, but they generally share pretty much the same chassis in a lot of ways. A lot of the parts are different, but it was kind of a natural progression to go back and do all of the U-boat, the big 6-axle U-boats. So we're starting off with our first run, which is actually kind of 4 different locomotives all in one. We got the U33C, the U36C, the Santa Fe U30CG, the very cool and kind of quirky passenger units that they bought, and the New Jersey Transit U34CH. That was a kind of a pioneer of head-end power back in the 60s and 70s.
You're talking about halfway there, right? You were halfway there to the U-boat, the same chassis.
Yeah, exactly.
Cooling. Yeah. So yeah, this is just kind of a progression. How long has this project been in development?
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of morphed over time. So Jeff Lasson has really kind of taken that this whole line of GE locomotives, 6-axle locomotives, and run with them. And he's been working on most of the U-boats for, I want to say, probably 6 or 8 months, maybe close to a year now. So he's doing all of the freight units as well as the U34, whereas Dan Darnell is working on the U30CG, the Santa Fe units, because that's kind of its own thing. There's almost nothing from that engine that can carry over from the other ones. So those guys are working on those 2 projects, but it's just a natural progression, and I think it's going to be a big hit for, like, if you're modeling 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It's a really important model that's been missing in the market.
Was this something that was pre-planned when you were even doing the C series? Like, hey, when we do the C series, we know we can do the U. Was that kind of part of that process, or did you just kind of discover it along the way?
Well, it was kind of in the back of our minds. We weren't really sure how well they would do originally, at least the Dash 7s. The C30s showed up, they sold out. So the C36s, we did those, they sold out. I think we have maybe a few left, but they're pretty much gone. Once we saw how well that second project was doing with the 36s, it was just, let's just run with this. The other 2 have been really successful. So this other whole series of U-boats now must be gonna, or they will do really well. And so far they've been pretty good sales wise. So we're very happy with it.
So you talk about a locomotive that was 60s, 70s, 80s. So a lot of research, obviously, to get where you need to be to make it Rapido quality. Talk about that process. What goes into the research process to learn about the U series?
Well, I mean, we already had a lot of the material because we'd kind of been building it up as we were doing the Dash 7s. But and that's the thing with especially with a lot of the U-boats at the time, they were all so different. So you kind of, you take one and you start with that, and then you design the first one, and then you go back and you design all of the other different variations. I think I can't remember which one he started with, but essentially it did kind of grow out of the C30-7s, but with kind of all new parts. But yeah, there's absolutely a lot of research that needed to be done, rosters and build histories in different phases. One of the things we found out, which is really interesting about GE at the time, and this is almost a lot different from how EMD was doing locomotives, is there were so many phase variations of all these U-boats. And we're not just talking from railroad to railroad, we're talking order to order. So like the Southern Pacific had, I think, 5 or 6 different orders of U-33Cs, and they're all a little different. And they're not even numbered sequentially. So when the later runs came, the numbers were lower. They were kind of all over the place. So you really had to we had to pick with like 2 styles and go with those and kind of build 2 unique locomotives out of that information.
Ain't that kind of funny? Because it would seem like a railroad would want to keep them all the same, right? I mean, makes the parts, the channel a lot easier. They know that, they can keep spares and it's going to fit a much wider range, but having all these variations and like you said, then they number them all in a wacky way. That's got to make a big challenge in the process.
Exactly. And if you actually look at a lot of them, because I guess the design philosophies were evolving so quickly in the 70s, you look at the early ones, the early 33s and the 36s, and you've got all kinds of different details. By the time you get to the late U33s and 36s in like 75, 74, 75, they have more in common with the -7s in a lot of ways than the earlier U33s, because that's just how things were evolving at the time.
I can imagine you having 2 pictures sitting next to each other and circle what's different in this picture from the next, right? Trying to identify those differences, right?
Precisely.
As you talk about these differences, what does it take to ensure the most prototypical model possible? I mean, I know what you guys strive for at Rapido to be able to provide that. And again, getting that information from locomotives that aren't out there, a lot of them, you can't just go see all of them and climb on them and measure them. There's got to be a lot. Talk about the process just to make sure that the model is right.
Exactly. And that's where it really the help of a lot of people that we know in the model railroading community really comes in handy. A lot of friends and a lot of consultants that we talk with. We share a lot of our design. We have several people that we work on the designs with. They send their feedback to us, and and this is for specific like locomotives. So if someone knows an SP U33 really well, or if someone knows a Northern Pacific U33 really well, which is a totally different animal almost, and Dan with the U30CG, they're just bouncing off of all these experts that either measured them in the field, had documentation that could help us, or actually had like even just photos. Sometimes finding good quality color photos or any photos from back then can be really hit and miss. So that's the thing. It's not one person kind of doing all the work. It's using resources that we have available to gather that information and then kind of revise things and adjust them before they're ready to go into production.
Is there a particular detail that seems to be the most challenging to grasp on these, or perhaps any locomotive?
Well, that's exactly the thing. It's like I mentioned before, with different orders having specific details, but even more than that, and this is something we found with the Santa Fe 6-axle U-boats, is you also have to look at the era, because a Santa Fe U-boat in 1974 looked different in 1976, and it looked different in 1984. And as they were being retired out in the 80s, they look different again. So you've got different detail arrangements. You've got different details on the roof. Did they have air conditioners? What kind of antenna plates did they have? What kind of beacons did they have? And you can't just pick one. You got to say, I'm gonna do this version over here and this version over here and get them right. And the other ones, maybe we'll do them one day, but you can't do all of them at once. But you really have to. It's all about narrowing it down and trying to get what would sell the best as well. So like there was, again, for the Santa Fe units, there was one version we want to do, but we said that might not be the best one to do in this run. So we're going to hold that off for a second or a third release down the road.
I can just envision this long checklist, right? Like you talked about beacons and You know, all these details, like you're just going down. Okay, is this one the same? And then you talk about variations within that, and it's kind of funny, like this world of custom, right? That each of these railroads had their own specific demands as these were being built. Obviously, even between builds, as you were talking about, was there ever two separate railroads that could ever agree, like say, yeah, that's good enough for us and that's good enough for them, and just build them? I mean, was there any collaboration ever on this?
I think there was. I mean, it depends on what locomotive you're talking about. But that's just the thing is, I think nowadays there seems to be more of a kind of a uniform style of building a locomotive. Like if you look at like a Tier 4 GEVO or something like that, there will be small differences. But you look at a lot of older stuff, even into the 80s and 90s, and every railroad would quite often have very specific details they wanted to do. Like look at the Canadian railroads between CN and CP with their SD40-2s. There's almost nothing alike about them. They were built at the same time. But you've got wide cabs, you've got Spartan cabs, you've got totally different details on the noses, and all pilots even are completely different. It's just whatever railroad specs specific things. I think that's kind of, it doesn't seem to be as common as it was before, maybe for efficiency or keep costs down. But I guess a lot of that just kind of, maybe that hangs over from the steam days when everything was just so custom built for each road and whatever service it was being used for.
Seems to be about the farthest point from the Henry Ford Model T theories, right? Like you can have any color you want so long as it's black mentality.
Yep, precisely. But it makes things interesting. It makes things so like you don't have two locomotives that are necessarily alike or exactly alike. I mean, even with the U30CGs we found when we were looking at the details, even between road number and road number in the same era, they might be totally different. Like Santa Fe modified and repainted some of the 30CGs late in their career because by that point they were exclusively freight units, and some of them looked totally different from other ones. Like some of them still kept some of their passenger details in their original yellow bonnet paint right to retirement, where other ones were repainted, had their passenger pilots removed. They had a whole bunch of other details changed on them. So that's another thing we really got to pay attention to.
It makes me wonder why, right? Like, why did they make those changes? I mean, do you ever get to that point where you get to discover some of the whys behind that?
I guess it happens sometimes, but I think a lot, especially at the time, being that era, there was a lot of, because locomotives were evolving so quickly, especially with the GEs of the time, they would become obsolete like almost overnight. And that's why you see a lot of U-boats at the time built in the 60s, early 70s. They were gone by the late 70s, early 80s in a lot of cases because the technology was evolving so rapidly that a lot of them became just kind of orphan locomotive series as things kind of changed.
Was there a particular model or road name that was more in demand when you released these series of U's? Was it anything that was like absolutely got to have like a leader of the pack?
Well, Southern Pacific's a natural because they had the largest fleet. They had I think they had like 60 or 70% of all the units built, somewhere in that range. So I stand to be corrected on that, but it was the largest fleet of U-33s anyway. But it's not necessarily that it's the largest fleet that necessarily gets the sales. It's what people remember. So if and you see that a lot with like excursion locomotives, like it might only be a single locomotive, but everyone's seen it. So it's in very demand, like high demand. But it really depends. Some things, if it's never been done before, or if there's been nothing similar done before by another manufacturer, it's that fresh that everyone kind of has to have it, or the uniqueness makes them a need to have.
Now it's kind of neat. I'm looking at the entire series of these General Electric U series locomotives, and you've got a wide variety of road names for the U25B and the U33C and the U36C. But of course, you got these U30CGs, as you mentioned, and then, of course, the U34CH that are very specific. Now we've gone from a wide variety of road names down to one is very specific. Yep. Very, very neat that these were very unique. Talk about them a little bit.
So the 34CH was kind of a bit of a pioneer because it was a head-end power equipped locomotive, which was almost unheard of in the late 60s. I know the CNW had experimented a bit with some head-end power, but otherwise, I mean, even Amtrak, well into the mid-70s, was almost exclusively steam heated with all their secondhand E units and F units and whatnot. And it wasn't until the F40s and the P30CHs started to come online with the AM fleets and the HEP rebuilds. So the U34CH was really kind of a pioneer in that field. So they showed up. That was when it was still the Erie Lackawanna, and the EL had purchased this large fleet of head end of power kind of equipped Comet cars, the Comet ones. So it was kind of this new thing, and they did have a very kind of high profile because they were in obviously the New Jersey, New York area. So a lot of people had or rode behind them or saw them on a daily basis for a very long time. In fact, there's one that still exists. I can't remember the museum. It's somewhere in New Jersey. But one of them has been preserved, and hopefully, I'm not sure if they're restoring it to operation, but it has been at least cosmetically restored.
Well, we go from a release that covers quite a few different decades to one that's more in the modern decade. Mm-hmm. As we roll into rolling stock, let's talk about these Trinity 6261s and 6241 plastic pellet hoppers. And, again, we've got something now more modern that we see quite a bit.
Exactly. And this is, we've actually been really moving towards more modern freight cars in the last couple of years. We've had a lot of success with our Greenbrier coil cars and the insulated mechanical reefers that we have coming out. These are all modern 21st century cars that are still actually in production. And the next thing along that line we looked at was the Trinity 6221s and 41s. So these are they're a plastic pellet hopper. They are incredibly generic. Almost all of them are the same color of gray, and the difference is the reporting mark. But that being said, there are tens of thousands of these cars. They hit the rails, I think, was first around 1995. And there's been several different generations of them, but they're absolutely everywhere. And because they run everywhere, you can't just have one or two. A lot of cases, you have to have like a whole block of cars if you're running a manifest or something like that, or even on a branch line. So they truly are a car that it doesn't matter what part of Canada, the US, or Mexico you're in, you're going to see these cars and you're going to need a bunch of them, despite how plain they are. So we're really excited about this one. It's the first version that we're doing. And if it does well, there are other versions of that car that we can also do in the future. So it's very promising.
What led you to choose this car specifically?
So Jeff, who also did all the U-boats, has designed this car. And I think he was able to get plans for it, as I recall. So that helps. That definitely helps. And also choosing a car the version that he chose had a very wide variety of reporting marks and owners and covering different eras. So like, it's a car that not like we're not just doing like a current day version. We're doing both kind of earlier cars like before the Conspicuity stripes appeared and afterwards. So, but yeah, it was just he got the plans for them, and it just seemed like a natural thing for us to do. Modern, like 90s and newer freight cars are doing very well for us, and it was just why not?
What changes in the car? Are there variants? I mean, you talked about they're pretty much all the same color gray, and then the reporting marks. Are there any differences whatsoever in the cars between road names?
I believe that most of the ones we're doing are the same body and have the same details. There are other versions, I think, that have like enclosed ends on them or different variations on that theme that we could definitely do in the future without too many tooling changes. But I do believe that these are pretty much a common design. There may be some small details that I'm not aware of that Jeff has designed into them, though. So actually, I should probably look into that. Like, make sure I know, because we're going to have to do a video on these before too long. So
there you go. So a little more research on them and learning some more about these 6261s, the 6241s. And I know there's a lot of great information on your website as well, and we'll share those links in our notes around the layout.com/214. And when we were talking back at the Railroad Hobby Show, said that the cars are kind of boring. I mean, they're not like the pop of some of these other runs that we've done. And, of course, not as flashy as the Locomotives with that kind of look. But, it's kind of a negative space car, but it's also useful for operations. Talk about how it becomes really a good operator car as well.
Oh, exactly. I mean, if you're operating like a plastics facility or anything like that, you can see yards of these that are just packed with maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 100 cars sitting in a yard. And I mean, just the operational potential of that. If you're switching a facility, I mean, you could keep someone busy switching with get like an SW 1500 or something like that, or a Jeep 40, and just switch out the yard all day. You could keep someone busy for hours doing that. But that's just the thing. It's a negative space car, but it's one that just, you see them in such large quantities in the same place. And in a lot of cases, they're just filling up a yard. So yeah, there's just a ton of operational potential for it.
Yeah, a big facility of multiple cars, or even down to one. Or you got a smaller plastics company and maybe only taking one car at a time, doing some smaller extrusion kind of stuff, and need the pellets and pneumatically unloaded, vacuum unloaded. I can imagine the hoses and everything else. You could probably go to town with like some super detail around those industries based on these cars.
For sure. Or like you said, even just have like a small warehouse with a 1 or 2 car siding or something like that. Just have like a single one there, and that's all you need to do.
Yeah, maybe a silo, a storage silo or something next to it. Boy, yeah, you could have a lot of fun, building around that car for sure. So that's another beautiful car. And again, negative space. We talk about it with Lance Minheim, talks about it with scenery, but how about with rail cars? I mean, you got to have something to make those other things really pop. And sometimes you just your eyes need a break, and there's a great car to put on. That's realistic and prototypical, even up to the modern day.
Exactly. And sometimes that subtleness is what brings out kind of real life more in some ways. Not everything is neons and bright colors and stuff like that.
Well, here's a car that we could couple to it and make it stand out. You've also announced the Trenton Works 6348 cubic foot box car, and kind of a favorite of mine, because anything that's Canadian national that has the chance of coming down the New England Central and being seen on that railroad is something I'm going to definitely gravitate towards. Talk about this car and what you got going here.
So these cars were built in, I believe it was around 1995, 93, 95, somewhere around there, mid-90s, by Trenton Works for CN. They're still on the rails today. So it's kind of an interesting design. It's a 60-foot car, but it's a combo door, and it's got this unusual look to it because it's not like a high cube. It's more of like a standard, like a plate B or C car. I can't remember which one. I think it's a plate C car. And they would come out of like Quebec, out of Ontario, a lot of lumber products, wood products, and they'd be they're all over the US. I've seen them like as far as California, Illinois, down to Texas, and they're still on the rails today. So they've gone through a couple different generations of them now in terms of paint. Most of them, they were delivered with the standard CN paint. They got conspicuity stripes in the 2000s, and we've actually done a couple different variations on that. I think there's 2 different variations, and I think we've actually also slipped in some of Jeremy's favorite Railroad of Lies cars that we're doing as well. But yeah, they really do cover, I mean, you're looking at now a wide range of eras, and just you need one. You see them operating in singles, but also in blocks as well, coming out of Canada.
Now, there's a little bit of a inside backstory on this car, isn't there, regarding, didn't somebody scratch build one of these, and then now it's kind of obsoleted to a point where it was decided that it no longer needed to exist?
Yep. So Jeremy actually built this one years ago. It's his favorite car, and he built it with, I think it was the car itself was actually never completely finished, but he did a great job on it. And he took some old MDC, I think they were FMC cars or something like that, the old kits, and he spliced them together. And he built the doors and the sliding door, the plug door. Built that whole car up, and that was kind of this whole joke when we finally announced that the 6348. He was so upset that he put it into a hydraulic press or something like that and crushed the car because he was so sad that all of his fancy work or excellent work had gone to waste. But it was we did get a little bit of a pushback about doing that, but he had fun with it. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's his. He can do what he wants. It's kind of a bummer that he kind of let that go, though, because I'm sure he had a lot of. It'd be nice to be able to set them side by side, but hey, it's gone now, and hopefully get some entertainment value. I know there's a video of that available on your website. We'll share a link to that again at aroundthelayout.com/215. So
yes, and they're coming soon. By the way, they're on the way. They should be arriving. I think I want to say, maybe later this month, but probably March, I believe, when they're shipping out. So we're getting pretty close.
Some kind of unique things about it. One thing I thought it was kind of unique was the fact that it doesn't have that typical flip it around the other way, and it's got the French spelling of Canadian. It's all Canadian. And I know that you've also, it was designed from original blueprints and some field measurements. What does a Rapido field trip look like when you're able to get one of these cars and be able to do some measurements on it?
When we did the BART trains back in 2022, we got access to their shops, and they actually had one of the original Class A car, the Legacy A cars, and it was up on like these jack stands. So they rolled the car into the shop over the open pit, and it has these hydraulic lifts that lifted it by the trucks and lifted it like 10 feet in the air. So we're able to get all inside and around and underneath these cars, and just it was actually a blast because we actually climbed up into the car at one point, up the stairs, with our friend Jay from Bart, and we're doing like our video filming in this Bart car 10 feet in the air, and it was so neat, and like just stuff like that. It's really cool to be able to go out in the field and do that kind of thing and just actually interact with the actual models and or the actual prototypes and get underneath and get all those nooks and crannies that you don't normally see.
It's got to be a thrill to be able to do that. And then, at the end of the process, see the model come to fruition and be able to touch and hold something that you've been able to have that much of a touch on.
Exactly. It's very enjoyable. And I mean, you're able to see the kind of the fruits of your labor as these projects kind of come in and get shipped out and people get to enjoy them.
So when I go to your website, and just to clarify, when we do some pre-ordering of these 6348s, I see that it says like car number 1, car number 2. Tell us a little bit about the pre-order process, and can I pick a road number, or how does that whole process work?
So for us, the factory likes to make things in boxes of 6. So what we have is you can either buy them in the box of 6, or you can buy individual cars. So what we'll do is, if you order directly from us, the car will be picked from random out of that 6-pack. If you want a single car, I mean, generally we recommend, like, if you call your dealer, they'll usually have lots of stock. Quite often will have lots of stock. You can actually select which road numbers you want. And again, like I've said before, 90%, sometimes more than 90% of all our orders come from dealers. We like to support that dealer network and keep that going. So we do recommend people see their dealer, see which car numbers they want to have. But otherwise, you can order direct from us, and the car generally will be chosen at random from one of those 6-packs. Now, that's not always the case. There's certain cars like our new Greenbrier mechanical reefers, the insulated 72-foot cars, or interior length 72-foot cars, because Greenbrier actually named many of them, whether they're Cryotrans, I believe Lineage, they actually named the cars. So we've actually offered them that way. So if you want a specific car with a specific name on it, you can actually do that instead of having to kind of buy from a 6-pack and hope that you get one that you want.
One thing I do enjoy about your website, and I think it's great use of the information that you've gathered and all the things that you've learned about these prototypes during the process, is that you share that in the website. Talk about where we can learn more about the 6348 and perhaps even more about some of the models that you guys are creating.
If you go to our website, you can either go to the individual product pages, and they'll have some general information, some prototype information, and more information on the models, like the features and stuff like that. And for a lot of projects, we also have master classes. So these will be more in-depth information on like a specific locomotive, or like the CF7s or something like that, or the Canadian Pacific GP9U. And there's a whole history of different generations of builds and stuff like that. Now, that being said, we are going to be going through a bit of a transition period in the next year or so. We are going to a brand new website. Our current website kind of tends to be held together with Band-Aids and chewing gum sometimes. So we are moving to a brand new system sometime in the next year, maybe sooner, that will actually make things a little bit more easy to use. But we are working to make sure we're still having that level of information and both product and prototype information that we have on the website as it is now.
One thing I hate to do is miss out on a pre-order. Talk about some upcoming pre-order deadlines that you folks have coming.
So yes, so we just had some order deadlines that passed on the 16th. And I mean, we probably haven't sent the POs to the factory anyway. So if you still have an order, you probably still have a few days to get that in. But we've got the HO scale Bud M3 and M3A rail cars. That's for Metro North Long Island Railroad. That's a very cool transit commuter product, third rail electric EMU that we've got coming out. We have we've actually reopened the books on our HO scale GP39s. That's the chassis CSX units as well as the mother slug. So those are actually going to be open until March 1st. We just got the first decorated sample in time for Springfield, so we're giving everyone a little bit extra time to get those orders in. Going back to the previous, just the deadlines that were on the 16th, We've got the new run of Northeastern cabooses in HO scale. We've got a new version. This is the standard underframe with the porthole windows on the end. We've also got the cushion underframe Northeasterns with the Duria underframes also closing. They just closed. I mean, we've got so much stuff that we're working with here. Yes. So we've also got the HO scale bud coaches. We just did, well, I wouldn't say just did, we've got 2 different versions of these cars. The steam generated or steam heated cars, bud built for a variety of railroads, both in Canada and the US. And we've also got the Canadian versions that were rebuilt by Via with head end power. So those have been very successful. I mean, you can never get enough bud coaches for your layout. I mean, most trains you want 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more. So that we've got just passed on the 16th. Those will be coming probably later this year. Actually, for the Via HEP 2 cars, the HEP 1 and HEP 2 cars, we're just about to get some samples in for those. So you should see those on our website probably in the next week or so, maybe even now, kind of middle or the end of February. We also do have some big March deadlines coming up. One in particular, and I know we're still trying to nail down some of them, but we've got the new run of U25B. So we were talking about all the U33s and 36s before. We've got the new run of U25Bs with a whole new run of paint schemes and upgraded details. Those are closing on, I believe it's either March 15th or 16th. So that's really exciting. The U25s, we've actually done a significant amount of revisions and retooling. That we've done new handrails, which have been really thinned out, more scale sized, new grille work. We've actually retooled the entire long hood to be a little more correct in terms of the profile and just a ton of other details. And we got new roads too. So we've got Southern Pacific either in the 1965 renumberings or kind of the early 70s when they had the big nose logos added. We've got Great Northern, Big Sky Blue that we've added. We've got Rock Island. There's 2 versions of Rock Island with or without the frog lights. No one's ever done them with the frog lights before, so that's really neat. It's kind of the weird kind of lights that they put on the top of the cab, kind of like an early version of ditch lights almost. That's really exciting. They should be arriving hopefully later this year, or the end of this year. That's that mid-March deadline for those. And I think we got so many other deadlines. We got N-scale Comet cars. They just closed on the 16th. That's a new run of the Comets that this is a second run of those cars. New paint schemes, new road names in some cases, and also the HO scale F40PH-2Ds. Those are the rebuilt Via units. Also closed just a couple days ago on the 16th. So as you can see, we've got a lot happening. We've got a lot of order deadlines that are either just passed or are coming up, and we're going to keep pumping them out as the months go by.
Well, hearing that list, it's no question as to why you folks had to get back from the Railroad Hobby Show quick. You had a lot going on up there in Toronto and now in Buffalo as well, new headquarters in Buffalo. So we've got a lot going on at Rapido Trains. To try to keep up with all of that, what would you recommend?
So we have a lot of different channels and ways of keeping up to date. Obviously, we've got our newsletters. If you go to rapidotrains.com, if you're not already signed up, click on the top. I think it's in the top left there, our newsletter sign up. We're now sending usually 2 newsletters a month. We send early in the month, we send a big deadline reminder newsletter, and then we have a product announcement newsletter that usually comes a week or 2 later after that. Aside from the newsletter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have our TikTok page that we're posting to fairly regularly once again. We've got Pinterest we're starting to post on more often. So I mean, it's not difficult to find us. We're kind of expanding our reach as we grow, and yeah, it's exciting. And also one thing that I always recommend this, and because we get these emails all the time, you never say anything about when this product's shipping. I don't have any update on that product. The best thing to do is go to our website and go to the delivery schedule. It's right. There's a link right at the top of the page.
Bright red too. You can't miss it.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. You can't miss it there. Covers all the new N scale products we have, HO products. There's a lot to see there, but we do try to keep that up to date as much as possible. So make sure
awesome
you
stuff. We'll share all the links to that
through
rapidotrains.com on our website, aroundthelayout.com/215. So fun catching up with the folks at Rapido Trains. I say it quite often. Nobody has more fun in the railroad hobby than Rapido Trains. You guys are having a blast. You had an awesome thing. The booth was awesome. You had all the colors. The sign was changing colors. The booth looked great at the Railroad Hobby Show.
Our brand new booth just arrived 2 days before the show. So we're really, really happy with that.
Brand spanking new. You get to take it for a test drive, and looking forward to seeing you folks again at some other shows down the road. Until next time, Jordan, so great catching up with you. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Ray.
And now it's time for the RPM report. Let's turn it over to Eric Hansmann.
It's time for the Around the Layout Railroad Prototype Modeler Report. While I'm not sure if we have a few more weeks of winter or if spring is right around the corner, I do know that prototype modeling season is heating up. 10 events are on the schedule starting February 21st and 22nd with Rock RPM in Rochester, New York. They'll feature an on-site free-mo layout to learn about operations. Several March events are gearing up. The Tulsa Layout Design and Operations Weekend is full of great presentations and local layout op sessions. Later in March, I'll be presenting at RPM Valley Forge and hosting an open house on my Wheeling Freight Terminal. 30 clinics are on tap with more to be added. Additional RPM events are being held in Metro Minneapolis, Macon, Georgia, Sydney, Australia, Charlotte, North Carolina, and more. For information and links to upcoming events, check the RPM calendar link at aroundthelayout.com/RPM. Make plans to attend a Prototype Modeler Meet near you. I'll be back next month for another RPM report. Until then, let the prototype be your guide.
Well, thank you, Eric. And now it's time to find out what's happening in and around ATLP Universe. The Hudson Valley Railroad Society is hosting a unique event called Stargazing at the Station. It'll be on February 19th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Spend an evening with their astronomer and see the universe through an astronomical telescope and learn more about the Hudson Valley skies. You can learn more by going to hydeparkstation.org. That's HYDE parkstation.org. And then we head to Texas for the 50th Annual Model Railroad Jamboree, hosted by the San Antonio Model Railroad Association on Saturday, February 21st and Sunday, February 22nd. The event features vendor tables, operating layouts, door prizes, and an open house of the San Antonio Model Railroad Association. You can learn more about the event at samratx.org. If you have a model railroad event you'd like us to share, head to aroundthelayout.com/event. If you think you've missed out on the chance to order your ATLP 2027 Prairie Shadows 50-foot high cube 5th anniversary car, I have good news for you. We've extended the deadline just one more time to March 1st. That's when I have to tell Prairie Shadows exactly how many cars we need, so you have until February 28th to get that order in. Head to aroundthelayout.com/2027 to claim yours today. We're looking for submissions from our listeners for the next ATLP Extra. Do you have a tip or trick or even a layout update to share? Send it in, atlpextra.com. This is Ray Arnott, and now you know what's happening in model railroading. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's episode, check out past shows, and much more on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at aroundthelayout.com/crew. Follow us on social media, aroundthelayout.com/social. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.